Well, everybody, welcome to Sunday, October 12th. Good God!
Wow.
We missed you all last week. We were all traveling. I know Joel was down at VCC, Tennessee, and I think Rob, you were there too, right?
I was. Yep, it was great.
And then myself.
Kind of had that other event, you know.
Yeah, I know. And we got to hang out with Zen all weekend, and that was cool. And there's a whole bunch of pictures up, and we'll talk a little bit about that, about the whole Vape Expo in VCC, Tennessee, during our show today. Today we got, let me see. I should look at the pictures and see who we got where. Wow, where are we? What's up in our run? Oh, it is much. So up on the left in the top of your screen, we've got the wonderful Alex. From CASA, and that's not really him. He's not posing. That's his picture.
Bathroom.
He's in the he's going to the bathroom. So, you know, don't hold it against him, and we hope that he washes his hands.
Oh my God.
I'm in the middle. We have the famous Knock Noir Patrick on the upper right.
Excuse me.
Say hi, Patrick.
Hi, Patrick.
Oh
And then
God.
we have the fetching and beautiful, and she knows.
Oh, thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate that
She
description.
knows I think it's beautiful, and that would be the militia lady Robin on the lower left.
Hi, everybody.
And
Oh,
then
I thought you were talking fetching and referring to me.
And then we have the vape famous man around the country.
Famous.
Cher lookalike Melissa Joe.
Nice.
Martin. I read in the Inquirer this weekend, Joe, that Cher was dying. I was bumming, but I figured that you could take over for her.
Wow.
Too soon. Too soon.
Wow. Just wow. Anyway,
Just
Joe,
wow.
my brother Joe. So are we on Nova yet?
No. We'll pick up.
Okay. So what do we got this week, Joe?
Actually, I'm going to run it right up to Knock, and Knock can cover everything that's active at the moment, and we'll jump from there.
Wow, I'm frozen. I'm frozen in the room.
Yeah,
Is that me?
yeah. I'm trying to do 700 things.
Oh, okay.
Only 700.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Local stuff. We just got an alert. They are going to have a meeting on 10/14 at 7 p.m. This is the first reading and introduction of an ordinance that will regulate the use and sale of e-cigs in the same manner as tobacco products. So we need everybody to hit that and hit that hard. Every one of these that we allow to pass without having any sort of opposition, just, we can't allow these to go like that. So,
Joe, we're going to talk about the Farsalinos Palooza rebuttal later.
Right.
This would be a good place for us to use those rebuttal terms, right?
It would be. It would be.
Okay.
We'll go into a little more detail later on that particular thing, because we're going to talk a little bit about the new local scene as one of our segments. So that'll be included in there.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right. Then we have on Monday, October 13th. This is a sort of a last-minute thing. It just sort of arrived in my inbox for Evanston, Illinois. And this one is a proposal to increase the purchase age to 21. And that is for e-juice, for tobacco, for any product that we sell in a vape store. She said that the proposed ordinance could be voted on that date, on the 13th, if one of the city council wants to push it through. If they request a suspension of the rules. And we've seen this happen where ordinances are introduced and voted on at the same session, depending on if there's anybody that's really, really aggressively pushing. So that's near Is that near Chicago, Evanston? Anybody know?
I don't know my geography in Illinois that well.
I think it's pretty close to Chicago, but I mean, do we have is are cigarettes 21 in Hawaii, or have we passed 21 to purchase cigarettes anywhere in the country yet recently?
Hawaii did.
Hawaii did that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Hawaii did, and what they did though was they had a grandfather clause included in that allowed anybody that was already over the age of 18 to continue to buy until they turned 21.
Okay.
This does not appear to have that sort of clause added to it. But this is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central. And I'm going to get these just, like I said, just arrived in my inbox in the last little bit of time. So I haven't got a call to action or local alerts up for these, but I will before the end of the day.
Alex, what's CASA's position on the go into 21 that you've heard, or have you heard it?
What is CASA's position? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
moving
asking?
the age to 21.
We typically, I mean, there's a common sense kind of look at this. I think with any of this legislation, we'd like to see electronic cigarettes and all smoke-free products kind of divorced from anything pertaining to cigarettes. It's a tough row to hoe because you're talking about the children. No matter what you do, you're always talking about the children when it comes to age restrictions. So we typically don't take a position on jacking up the age, just because it really is, it's a political thing. It's very hard to argue.
I think I'll jump in as a political thing. If you can join the military at 18 years old, you damn sure should be able to buy a beer and have a cigarette.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Evanston is just north of Chicago, probably a third of the way between Waukegan and Chicago, right in Cook County. So this is a Chicago thing, and they have a population of 43,000.
And it looks like you have Northwestern University within the city limits there.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, sometimes I really wish we could put spiteful legislation through as they do this, that maybe we ought to send a bill to the state that they raise the minimum age to join the military to 21 also. I mean,
I forget, there's because every time that this age thing has popped up, people see something about, when they raised the drinking age to 21, the same argument was made. And I can't exactly remember how it failed, but it's overall the you can join the military, you can vote argument typically doesn't really resonate with the lawmakers.
Yeah, but I think that the alcohol thing, Alex. I mean, I think that was the 60s and 70s when they went down to 18 and then they went back to 21. So I think that was more a sign of the times, and they went from an old law back to an old law.
But they used the same tactic that they used with the 55 speed limit to get the age 21. Federal freeway money was tied up in that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember that. God, that's a long time ago.
Yep.
Actually, something maybe to look at with stuff like this that's coming around. Jan, on our board, had pointed this out. A lot of these places are receiving some sort of tobacco grant.
Oh, we gotta love that, don't we?
Not that this makes much of a difference, but I'm trying to find. There's an issue that was pointed out today. Ashland, Massachusetts is entertaining some new anti-e-cig, anti-tobacco in general ordinances, proposals, whatever. I don't know where it is in the process. But coincidentally, they also received some sort of a tobacco grant recently.
Well, I think Sean and the Oklahoma Oval OK had some interesting studies, a year ago now. We'd have to do a little work to find those that talked about watching the local cities respond with the potential for laws and the timing that went along with them receiving their tobacco grants and their tobacco settlement payments. And there's some good, serious evidence that the tobacco settlements were bumped up by 10 or 20,000 on these small cities. That's a lot of money.
Some even higher.
Yeah, but for these smaller locales, that's a lot of money, and they would get more money if they included e-cigarette regulation at the same time. So, there's evidence to show. Can we use a word like collusion in
Why
a
not just use
discussion like
extortion?
this? Extortion.
Extortion works better.
Extortion is much more aggressive than even collusion. Although collusion is a pretty good word.
Yeah, but call it what it is.
Yeah.
I just
Knock,
think you
you
got
have
your word of
anything
the
else?
day toilet paper. Oh yes, we do. Okay.
Knock, you're getting so good at pausing so we can converse in between. Well done.
Actually, I was refilling a K-Fun.
That's
Damn it,
important too.
I thought we were doing some professional broadcasting stuff.
Okay.
So much for our professional.
We
Yeah,
have
that's important too.
Santa Monica is going to have the second reading and adoption of their e-cigarette ordinance that will essentially turn us into a tobacco product and regulate us like tobacco on the 14th.
I know the guys from Safada, Southern Cal, are working on that. So that would be Doug and wow, right out of my head.
Did
Our
you
lawyer
see
friend from Hollywood.
Mark Burton.
Mark Burton, exactly.
I am so telling Mark.
Tell him I did that. That's okay. For me to guess a name, that's no surprise. But I know they're working on that. So
We've got some vape famousness in the militia room. Everybody say hi to Fiamma. She's in the room right now. So
There's Fiamma.
Fiamma, it's good to see you, darling. If you haven't seen Fiamma's I'm Proof video, I recommend everybody to watch that and make comments. She's an amazing, amazing lady.
Okay, so we have Sydney, Nebraska.
Mhm.
They will be having a meeting on the 13th as an e-cigarette discussion to propose future actions. So any of our Cornhuskers need to get out there and get up and stand and explain to these people what e-cigarettes are for you.
Sydney, Nebraska is the home of Cabela's, and we've got to get our friends Sparrots and Biker Granny, because they're both relatively close to Sydney. Biker Granny, you got to get close over there, hon.
You know,
She's in
a lot of
Colorado.
people are missing these when these come up. What we're seeing happen is they'll have this little workshop, and if the public is invited, because we've actually seen some instances where they're not invited, then we're not seeing that good a showing. And this may be the place that we really need to make the biggest impact. We need to get in there and get the studies in front of them and create that atmosphere of doubt that they have been convinced to do the right thing. So we really do need to attend these meetings. We need to get shop owners there talking about the impact of revenues on the jobs in the area, the fact that they pay taxes, utilities, and all that great stuff. We need that. We need that done, and then we need the Vapers. We need you to get there and tell your stories. This is a place where you can be heard.
Sydney is a seriously tiny town. I got stuck there one night for 3 nights in a snowstorm driving west, and it's a seriously small area. I don't even know if there's a vape shop there. So I think that this would be a great opportunity for us to use, the Knocked Book of Knowledge and get that information, into the hands of the city council over there. That's a tiny little town.
Got any other ones on the list?
Yeah, Biker Granny's going to get some of the guys from Sterling to go to that meeting. So thank you, Biker.
We have one that's a little further out. This one is in November on the 18th in Rochester, Minnesota, but it's for Olmsted, Minnesota.
Olmsted, yeah. Rochester, and Rochester's where the Mayo is.
Okay, so that's what it is. Is they're having a meeting. We need to get more specific information. All I have right now is that something's happening on that day, but there is no agenda yet.
Considering that I might live in that state, and I'm involved in MNVA, I'll find out what's going on.
All right. So that's all the local issues that I have right now.
Well, what about what's going on in? Can I put you on the spot? What's going on in New York with the flavor ban? And I know that November 3rd we've got Minneapolis coming up again still, and we just saw something from Massachusetts from Mr. Baker.
Well, I haven't got any specifics on the Massachusetts one yet. There is another flavor ban on the horizon, but I need to get the specifics before I report anything about it yet.
Okay. Alex, have you got any further information on what's going on in New York?
No. Last that I checked with anybody, I actually tried to put together a flyer for stores to put up. I need to reword it because we're suspecting that that it will be brought up in a hearing on the 23rd, but there's no confirmation of that. So right now, obviously, CASA has issued a call to action, and because of the way our system works, and because of the way I set it up, this is a call to action for everyone. We sent it out just to kind of the tri-state area, New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New Jersey, but anybody in the country can participate in this, and I just put the link in chat. So it's New York. That's the price they pay for being a global city. That the rest of the country is going to weigh in on this decision.
Joe, have you talked to Chris and Cheryl about Safada in New York? What's going on there yet?
No, I've not. I haven't had a chance.
And for the past week, I've been hammering the city council's tweeters in regards to this, and I invite everybody else to do so. If you favorite or friend the Vaping Malicious tweet or Twitter, this is all new to me, you will get some nice little tweets to forward or retweet. Like I said, new.
Biker Granny just put a link in the room talking about, in their latest attempt to kill your rights, Boulder, Colorado tries to pass the nation's largest smoking ban. So, Granny, we'll look at that and get out some information.
Boulder's the work session's come and gone. We actually had that up on the blogs. And now they're going to the first reading. That will be on the 17th, and then of November, and then on the 18th of November, and then on the 17th of December, it will be heard by the City Council. And we don't know if yet if there will be a full public hearing at that point on the second read and vote. But we are in contact with Boulder and working with a shop there in the Boulder area.
God, I love this link she sent me to the Boulder Rooster magazine. The headings are art, culture, booze, music, sex, vices, girls, viral videos, and under vices it says weed, drugs, politics, and celebrities.
Yeah, there's some interesting politics going on there between them trying to remove the homeless from a certain area, prevent people from using cannabis in vaporizers, and extinguish e-cigarettes in a 6-block city area. So there's a whole lot of politicking going on in that one.
Didn't Boulder used to be cool? I mean, didn't a bunch of new age hippie people move there?
Yeah.
What happened to Boulder? You used to be cool, man.
Democrats. That's all I got to say. Democrats with an anti-state mentality.
The first line of this article says Boulder's city council members are the most conservative liberals we've ever seen. They're bypassing your vote to enact special legislation that will effectively ban all types of smoking, even vaping, and using e-cigarettes in outdoor public areas within much of the city.
Okay. Jim, I have a riddle for you.
Oh God, I hate riddles.
What does Worcester, Massachusetts, Panama City Beach, and Ashland, was it Ashland? Yeah, Ashland, Massachusetts, all have in common?
Everybody from Worcester, Mass. and Ashland, Mass. moved to Panama City Beach every winter.
Not quite.
No.
But
That's good, though.
I thought it was a good guess,
It's a
man.
good guess,
I thought-
That's a good guess.
that's a
They all got tobacco grants?
Was that Alex?
they may have, but that's kind of not where I was heading. We were all
Okay.
we were notified of all three of these city actions from Vapers.
Mhm.
Oh, yay. Well done, Vapers.
So you
Well
know what that
done,
means,
Vapers.
don't you?
That means that people are listening. Yeah, exactly. Well done.
One of our biggest forms of intel is you guys. You reading your agendas for the local city council meetings and county health boards and things like that. And it's nice to see that it's working. All three of those in the last week were reported to us, and action was taken because of a report that a Vapor made.
Now, I think that's not Worcester. I think it's Worcester, isn't it?
Worcester? I
Is
have
that-
no idea how you would say it. So like Worcestershire?
The R and invisible or something like that.
Oh, that crazy!
Oh.
Those crazy enunciation rules in the New England
Yeah,
states.
I know.
Good.
I know. So, that's interesting, Joe, because I know that, we're coming up on, 6,000 members in the Facebook page and almost 1,000 members that are wearing dog tags. And, that is really, really an important, almost 6,000 members now. So that's really important for us because you guys are the boots on the ground. You are the scouts looking ahead. You are the people out on the front lines, and we appreciate that, and thank you.
Well, let me tell you what happened last week with Panama City Beach. On the 8th, it was in the local paper that the city would be talking about that, and a militia member
Is this our friend Vic Ham, the stud Vic Ham
Yep.
down in Florida?
contacted me, and we sent down the information packet, the studies packet. It's about 107 pages, and they went and had it printed at Kinko's and delivered it to the city council and spoke to the city council. And as a result, the actual ordinance that had been submitted did not even get a second. And they set up a workshop to discuss what information they had been given in Panama City.
Listen,
So,
I'm going to stand up and I'm going to give Vic Ham and the team down there a standing ovation.
big time.
Well done, you guys. That reminds me of our Texas group that just organized locally and took it to them, and Oregon and Washington.
Now, there were some other people there. Our good friend from VCC, Kevin Skipper, was involved in that.
Okay.
So there were lots of people that were involved in that, and I do appreciate Vic taking the extra time to jump out there and take the lead on this. And that's what we need is we need Vapers to step up and say it matters.
Well, I think Vic. I don't know if you've ever seen his pictures on Facebook, but he's kind of an imposing-looking individual. So he probably, them Panama City old people from Worcester and Ashland, Massachusetts, probably thought that they were going to go all Sons of Anarchy on him or something,
But that's
So
that's what we need. This is what we need. This is what will make it work, because the as much as the lobbyists and our friends in the other portions of government give us as much information as they can, this local scene is very catch as can. It's hard to get all of it out and to prevent that domino effect from happening, where one area sees something happen and then they simply act because someone else did.
Well, and I think, Joe, it's really important that you've emphasized this, and thank you for bringing this up. We've got there's 8 of us or 10 of us on the board now in the militia. How many are on the board? How many are on the board in CASA, Alex?
Hold on, I have to count. It's like 8 or 9 of us.
So there's 17 of us that are running these organizations, and we need the 10 or 12,000 that are in CASA, the 6,000 that are in the militia, that to really keep us informed of this. And we do everything we can do. We spend our nights and evenings and mornings and daytimes, blogging and getting the information out. Thanks. I know that. Thanks, Tom Baker, for putting that stuff about Massachusetts up on the page and his action plan. We need this kind of stuff. We need you guys, the boots on the ground, to really continue to keep pushing. And I don't know about you guys, but when we talked about this at our board meeting on Thursday night, I was just blown away by what Vic and Kevin did down there. And I don't know if you guys know, Kevin is one of the board of directors of Vista Truth, and works with Demi on that, and also puts together the VCC. So, well done, Vic. Well done, Kevin. Well done, Panama Beach.
Does that covers all the local, right?
Think so.
I think so.
Do we have anything on the big scene, Alex, besides New York?
Well, can I ask you a question about New York?
Sure, but if the answer is not, those stupid Democrats that think they want to run your life, I'll have to give you $1. Them nanny state biatch. No, I'm sorry. Did that come out loud? Ooh, God. I know. We said nanny state, you guys. Was anybody else super surprised? Because the first person that I saw a message was from the real vape girl, Janae. And I saw her message first, and I mean, we were talking 18 hours of notice. I mean, but when it hit the street, there was only about 18 hours that we had to organize down there. Is that the norm in New York politics, or how did that get past everybody? How did it get past the press? 18 hours? Well, you have to think about the absolute circus the last time that they put out with any notice that it caused. So I would be willing to bet that they weren't very forthcoming with it, because it was an absolute circus the last time they tried to do something in New York.
Yeah, but I'm still. Isn't there some sort of Robert's Rules of Order to, I mean, there's got to be some regulations or some rules that they have to give so much notice to let the public know what they're talking about, I would think.
I forget if New York falls in that. I think there was the Sunshine State laws. I don't know if that covers notice for meetings or whatnot. I mean, I'm sure it was probably out within whatever mandated time that they have to give notice for. It's just where they post it and how people get a hold of it. That's a different issue. I mean, it's certainly not something that they're going to put up on a billboard on in Times Square saying, "Hey kids, we're going to let your flavors come down to City Hall." It would be great. That's just not how it's going to happen.
I know, and they do consider us a circus. When I testified in the spring. Alex, I'm not lying. When I testified in the spring, I happened to be sitting next to Senator Sharon from Minnesota at the testimony table. And Greg Conley had testified in the group before, and I went up and I had Senator Sharon next to me and Cap O'Rourke next to her. And so, as a good advocate, I happened to take a quick peek at her notes that were sitting right in front of her, and literally on the top of her notes there was a section called What to Expect. Tags up, baby, tags up. There's a section called What to Expect, and on it, the number one item on What to Expect was, in big bold print, a vaping circus. So that's what they think we are. That's what, they think that we're not organized. They think that we're just a bunch of a bunch of thugs all going Sons of Anarchy on them, and you know, it's hilarious when we show up professionally and we show up, you know, ready to fight the fight, you know, and organized. And so I was just really, I'm not taken aback by many things, but to think that New York City, you know, I guess I would expect that in Chicago. I guess I should expect it in New York because they did it 18 hours.
I absolutely expect it in New York. I didn't expect it this year, but I expect it.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy.
I think the comment about the circus, I think it's appropriate that we show up with a button down and a tie and some nice pants and present ourselves professionally, absolutely. But to some extent, this is gonna sound the wrong way. I just know it. To some extent, they're right. We are not as organized as we need to be, and I mean that in the kindest, most constructive way.
I'll be not kind and not constructive if we're not meeting somewhere before the day before and actually executing a plan on how we're going to present the data, who should be leading off, what order they should present, and the whole 9 yards. We're screwing up.
Oh, absolutely.
There's something else to add to this, and this is something that we're struggling with how to really execute this plan. But I kind of want to relay just what little bit I remember of what Ron Ward had told me about going to Baltimore last week. The shitty truth is that, and we've seen this time and again, this is why we all show up here or in the chat rooms after a city council meeting and we say, that was a dog and pony show. Because it is. Most of the time, those city councilors have their minds made up before the hearing. The hearing's just a show.
Absolutely.
We saw it in Philadelphia. Philadelphia was probably one of the best examples of it. You had all the heavy hitters in THR advocacy testifying in front of that panel, giving them just gobs and gobs of information. They had sent it beforehand and so on. And, you watch Bill Godshall, if there wasn't, 20 feet between him and Greenberg, whatever the hell his name is, I think they would have been in a shouting match, fist fight kind of situation.
Well, they were already in a shouting match, but then it would have been fisticuffs.
Yeah. But the other example you gave in Florida about how you guys were able to present all of that information beforehand, I guess, in time for a working group. Those are the types of connections that we really need to be developing. If I don't know how to get on that mailing list about a city council putting together a working group. I have rarely seen that, and we rarely get word about that from people on the ground. A lot of times we don't hear about it until it's coming to a hearing, and by that point we're finding that it's almost too late.
And you know what that is, don't you, Alex?
Alex, going from where you're at, this is one of those things that I've been stressing over and over on business-to-business meetings. When I go in and I talk to other businesses, and the first thing a business looks at me and says is what do I need to do for advocacy? And I say, you need to be in your Chamber of Commerce. You need to be meeting with your city council on a casual basis. You need to be on a first-name basis with every member of that city council. If you're not doing that, you're going to have them put through an ordinance without them telling you.
Yeah.
It's just what we have to do.
Yeah. And I think we're not invited to those planning meetings and those working meetings because we're not the ALA and the ACS giving them lots of money and or being given money from big tobacco. And that's why, listen, that's a great segue, Alex. That's why we need the vendor groups in these states so they can hire a lobbyist So they have their ears in the halls. That's why we won in Minnesota.
Jim, even then a lobbyist is still not going to do it. Nothing, there is absolutely nothing that is a substitute for a business's presence in a local chamber of commerce in City Hall itself. There is, I mean, you hear guys say it all the time. I'm so busy with my business. I'm so busy making juice. I'm so busy getting to this show. Well, if you're not paying attention to the city council, you're going to be picking up and moving to another city when they ban you.
Yeah, exactly.
So you would think your priorities would be shifted around a little bit.
And that right there is, I just started reading a book about citizen lobbying, or I should find the link. But
yeah, give us the link because I want to read that.
I'll have to hunt it down. It's on my Kindle app. Get it up here. It's called The Citizen Lobbyist. I'll hunt it down on Amazon. I just started reading it.
Okay.
But yeah, basically what Joe is talking about is vendors becoming citizen lobbyists. Even if you're just there, checking in and having a few conversations here and there, you're essentially lobbying those people, and that's something that a citizen can do. You're doing it on your behalf. You don't have to pay somebody to do that. You don't have to register to do that. It's just,
Well, and you know what? And we have two really great examples of that working in the U.S. with Corey down in Iowa, and who eventually hired a lobbyist, and Frank over in Ohio, Kentucky, at Alt Smoke, and Corey at Central Iowa E-Cigs. Both of those guys started out as Frank obviously being the GM and working. Those guys started on their own, realizing the depth of what they had to do and who they had to talk to. And I got to spend a lot of time with Frank at Vape Expo this weekend, and we talked specifically on how he talks to governors and how he talks to to the councils, and the way and what I think a lot of the folks don't realize that are in these businesses that have these vape shops is that they're not just a vape shop owner, they're not just a juice manufacturer, but they are entrepreneurs that are providing tax base, employment, all of these things. And you know what, you're right, we are kind of this lovable circus, but we really need to organize and remember that we are not me because I don't get paid for this, but we are entrepreneurs and we are providing to the economy. And we need to start acting like it, I guess. Maybe is what I'm saying there, Alex.
In the mid-'80s, and on into the early '90s, there was a lot of problems in the Florida area that I was dealing with, where there was a lot of issues on when you owned a business that had a large number of employees on the parking. There was a lot of city councils, a lot of crazy ordinance that were going about the parking, and the only way that I, as an individual, was able to fight these was through this method, going to city hall meetings, through city functions and things like that, in order to convince the city councils to give us enough parking spaces, allocate enough room for our parking lots for the call centers that I worked at, because we would have on shift 50 to 60 people, and we needed parking for them. And that's the way we did it. So, I mean, this is not something that every business doesn't already do. So, frequently, we like to think that we're very original and that we've got a product that's innovative and interruptive and all these other words. Bottom line, you're a business. You've got to grow up and act like a business.
Exactly. And I was talking to to Daniel at Vape Expo, Joe, and you and I have had this discussion numerous times, and we are we're still, we want to consider ourselves a burgeoning business, a burgeoning industry, but we're still really acting like a black market.
Yep.
We are, a not quite self-regulated black market. As long as we're still, making juice in someone's house, that's what we are.
Yep.
And until we understand and come to grips with that, we're going to be looked at like a black market.
Looks like they're having some problems on Vapers TV with audio. So.
On Vapers TV with audio?
Yeah, I get a couple notes in the chat.
Well, Steve says that Steve is here. Says it sounds good here.
That's
I think
good.
Steve is here. I think Steve is here. Uses the word "here" in every sentence that he types. I don't know.
Okay, great. Was there anything else on the national scale, Alex?
Well, kind of what we were just talking about. People in, I'm going to rattle off a bunch of states, and it's going to be really annoying.
Okay.
Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Maine, Massachusetts, Montana, Nebraska, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, and those that have age restrictions.
Alex, I thought Oklahoma got theirs through.
It's possible. That was the one I had a question about, actually. It still shows up in this. I'll toss you the link. It's like the National Governors Council or something like that. I didn't bring it up myself. I was kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma actually got it through last year.
Yeah, Oklahoma did. Oklahoma did get it through last year.
National Conference of State Legislatures. Let me just double check that. Okay. Never mind. I messed up in my spreadsheet. So if you're in Oklahoma, stop freaking out. I'm going to take that off my list. Anyway, everybody else, I'm trying to put together kind of a proactive type of email action plan. Just asking people to kind of casually send an email to your state legislatures and encourage them to enact a ban on sales to minors, and also following up with, taxing goofy. But
hold on, we missed what you said after ban the minor there, Alex.
The wording is actually, I would encourage you to not impose taxes on these products. Subjecting smoke-free vapor products to sin taxes and other punitive regulations that are designed to discourage smoking is grossly inappropriate and will create barriers for adults to quit smoking. Basically the rest of it. But it's really just, it's actually kind of, there's nothing specific happening in the states right now except for the fact that they don't have a ban on sales to minors. And so during this lull, we're just sort of going to try to encourage people to reach out to their legislators and the worst thing that's going to happen is you're not going to get a response. Best case, you get a conversation with them and you can lobby them.
Alex, I remember from a while back, just maybe a few years ago, or a year ago it seems like, there used to be this idea of don't poke the bear.
Right.
So do you think it's time to leave that stance?
I don't think we have a choice. Everything that we're talking about is on the table for next year. We're talking about taxes in all 50 states. We're going to be talking about usage bans in all, and probably most states. We're going to see flavor bans popping up. So that ship has kind of sailed. I think we're done worrying about poking the bear.
Well, I think it's a good time. It's a good time. I think it's time we did come forward, that we tried to get on the proactive side of this. Because definitely being the reactive side's not done us a whole lot of good.
Well, yeah, and look at, I think that, and this discussion leads to that BBC article, right, Joe? The fact that, you know what, we can tie the rapid rise of e-cigarette use, to a decrease in smoking. We can see those numbers. We have those numbers.
Well, let's justify this correctly. That from what they're looking in that BBC article is they're talking about health visits due to smoking have fallen in England. Now, of course, we would love to take full credit for it, but
yeah, I don't think that's. I don't think e-cigs can actually take that credit.
we don't get all the credit.
Not all the credit, but I mean, we can still. What's that? What is it in science when they show we can show a correlation of the numbers, and whether you can prove it or not, there's an interesting correlation there.
Here's an interesting argument that I picked up from that when I was reading that, is we constantly hear when we go into city councils, when we're dealing with ALA people, well, you never quit smoking. Remember that? Everybody's
Right.
heard that. Well, this is pretty good evidence that apparently we're doing something different.
Yeah, because you're looking at a reduction in smoking numbers, hospital visits due to smoking of 25%.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 25% reduction. That's huge.
It is huge. The number of smokers went down, and so did the number of smoking-related admissions to the hospital. I think there's definitely a correlation there.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
what the article, the second half of that article points out is that, or maybe, yeah, it's the second half there. The article is tying the drop in hospital visits to the rise in cost of cigarettes from 2003 to 2013, which I guess, this is the flip side here, is that tobacco control efforts are being credited with this drop in visits. And honestly, even in the UK or in Europe, cigarettes were, 2007, 2006, which is really not, I just don't see it as being a whole lot of lead time to really make a difference. I mean, 5 years from now, I think we'll start to see a dramatic drop. We should, anyway, dramatic drop in cancer cases. I would be more interested to see the sharp drop in emergency room visits from poor people who can't afford health care and so on prior to the Affordable Care Act or whatever, people going to the emergency room for respiratory infections, other smoking related kind of common cold type stuff that are exacerbated by smoking.
yeah.
One thing but I still believe the one thing you're not seeing in there is notice that usually when they have a chance to take a dig at us, they take it.
Yeah, they didn't mention us at all. It would be
There's
nice to see the numbers that we have plus an increase in the percentage of vapors, and have that all in one article. That'd be great.
Yeah, I would. Go ahead, Alex.
I think that would, to really include that in this article, I think it would have to fall under just the speculative forecast of, with the rise of electronic cigarettes, I'm sure they could get an expert on record saying, we would be curious to see if these numbers drop even more sharply in the next 10 years.
But they're not going to give us credit if they don't have to.
I would love to see Dr. Britton over there get a hold of this. He's the guy that made did the paper that talked about the expansion of the use of e-cigs could literally save hundreds of thousands of lives. On the National Health Society over there.
Well, the one thing, and another thing I want to point out here is the sourcing on the article is being from London, from the UK, and from the BBC. We will never see this article in the U.S.
Oh yeah. There's no way that they'll get this article out. I don't know, Joe. We've started to see some positive articles from the Huffington Post. We may see something like this. I don't know.
Yeah, and again, this is being attributed to tobacco control efforts. So I could easily see something like this coming out in, say, Time or the New York Times.
Because
some tobacco control group stepping up and claiming,
Yeah.
smoke-free or tobacco-free kids or any of those people would love to see this article.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, any organization advocating for higher taxes on cigarettes would get behind this in a heartbeat. Of course, neglecting the whole black market cigarette trade in New York State.
Well, these tax guys in the state and local governments, they know exactly. I mean, literally, they have analysis that shows how much they can raise taxes to the point where enough people quit to where they can say, hey, we raise taxes and people have quit, but they don't at the same time lose it. They don't lose revenue. You know, the reality of it is they don't want to lose revenue. You know, and that's when we can thank that article that we were so busy posting last week, Knocked, about from tobacco-free kids, that talked about what the states are spending out of the tobacco revenues compared on health compared to general funds.
Yeah, that was a fun article to write.
Yeah, that was a great article.
But
Well, let's take a little bit different tack. Let's go back to talking about some of the things that we've seen in the local market. And there was an article in Churn magazine that I wanted to bring everybody's attention to. Now, when we show you this article, please note that there is no new, innovative, or amazing study in this article. Okay? What you're reading here is things that we've already been talking about, things that we're already very familiar with as for the arguments. However, the context is what is important.
Big time. Big time.
mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things that we're starting to see is as we go in and we plop down the big book of studies and we start dishing out studies in large ladlefulls to local governments, their eyes roll to the back of their head and they search for their donut and coffee and try just to get you entertained long enough so that you shut up and don't have to be there anymore. Maybe I'm getting a little hard on them, but let's face it, it's got big words in it, and they're afraid of them. So this article may actually give us an ability to present an argument in a different manner.
And listen to this, folks. Pay attention to what Joe's going to say here, please.
Dr. Farsalinas and, oh goodness, I'm going to murder his name. Is it
Dr.
Pelosa?
Pelosa, yeah.
Pelosa? Okay. Have come out and on some of the standard arguments have given a response. Like, for example, one of the things that they addressed was the fact that e-cigarettes should be isolated and quarantined until long-time research is conducted. Well, the reply that they gave to that was that even for medicines, no regulatory agency has asked for long-term safety data before being approved for use. So, I mean, and we all have seen this, and we see it when a drug comes out, and about 3 years later, we see the lawsuits from all the ambulance chasing lawyers that have got, if you took whatever and stubbed your toe, give us a call, you know? But I mean, this is the same thing, and this is a plain English argument for that. You know, get in the weeds. And we could basically say that this argument gives us an expert opinion without having to invite the expert to give that opinion at a city hall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is not a substitute for science. Not at all.
No. But for, you know, this is an interesting tack to take, Joe, because I think it was Bloomington or Burnsville, Minnesota, and we went down to a local testimony last year in Minnesota. And, you know, I went there with, at the time, you know, the Sean Gore Book of Knowledge, you know, 67 pages, bound up and ready to hand out. And they just did not want to see it. They didn't care about the science. They were much more interested in the 50-year-old woman in tears at the podium speaking about the change in her quality of life. So this would be a way for us to reference a world-renowned scientist with arguments that can be tied to science, but we have quotations now from what we talked about this earlier, expert testimony now available that we can get into these local meetings, right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the way to approach something like this. Now, mind you, when we first started this particular battle, the studies weren't quite as plentiful, and we did caution people at that time about bringing in opinion pieces. Alex, I think you and I have talked about this quite a bit, actually, whether or not an opinion piece has any weight. But in this case, what we're looking at is a very renowned, very known factor, Dr. Farsalinas and Dr. Pelosa. These people are considered experts. So just this article having that weight can provide some form of an admission.
Well, this isn't just an article in Churn Mag. This is part of the peer review process. This is their comment on a published study. Farsalinas has been doing a few of these, and it's actually, I was in a bit of a Twitter exchange with somebody from a tobacco control guy from Michigan the past couple days, and I watched Clive Bates actually challenge him. This guy was making a criticism about the Burston study, and Clive's ultimate response was, cool, find the flaws in the study and then comment here on is it BMJ where it was published?
Yeah, BMJ.
So yeah, this is exactly what you're saying. This isn't just a pull quote from an article. This is actually part of the process of developing a scientific conversation about these issues.
So
I did not know
data.
that, Alex. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think, let me just double check. Yeah, this is actually, if you click on the link in the article that responded is highlighted, it's a hyperlink, it'll take you to Dr. Farsalinas' actual comment to BMJ.
Okay,
Yeah.
where's that link? Is that the responded word?
Yeah.
So click on the respond. Okay, that goes right to BMJ. Yeah.
Yeah. So this isn't just him talking to a reporter. This is an actual published response in a scientific journal.
So this is one of those things that we can use. And again, many times we've talked to you about when you go in to present, you don't have to be functionally, be able to work through the study, explain all the areas of the study, that you could read the summary paragraph and use it. But you can. This is another alternative to those. In these plain English descriptions and rebuttals, they can also be used as evidence, because they are rooted in fact and given by experts. So it's just a new tool, or a tool of a different type that we've not given you before, for you to take a look at.
No, this is a good way to look at it, Joe. I mean, I know that one of the things that we've found out, folks, in all of many of us in these rooms now have testified, but most of us are not, the science heads. We're all user addicts, and I say that with love and kindness because we are. So really we cannot speak effectively to the science, but we can speak effectively to how this has affected our life. And we can quote experts in this. So this is a great tool to use, and I'm glad you brought it up this way this week, Joe, for us to talk about.
Yeah, I think it gives everybody a chance to come at it from a little bit different angle, and you don't have to feel like you're snowed under by words that are so many syllable long that you're not even sure how to pronounce them. So that's good.
I would, just to add to what Jim was saying, or maybe I don't know if it's an addition or a counterpoint. Anyway, it doesn't matter. A lot of these people that show up from the body parts groups, that, you know, their qualifications for their jobs are not necessarily that they are scientists. Some of them are just lawyers. Some of them might have a background in medicine. But, you know, some of them are just regular people that, I don't know, they graduated from college with something that, you know, fit the bill to get hired as a director or something in some local group, you know.
That get paid by an organization with 3 letters.
Right. So, you know, I think we should feel less intimidated by our opponents. Absolutely inspired to know what the hell we're talking about, but they're just people.
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
Well, the other thing I think that a lot of people fear when it comes to dealing with those particular people is that you know, that they have a function, something that they even have a functional understanding of the argument. And I have noticed that they're very chained to a specific script.
Absolutely.
The minute you derail them from that script, there's no telling as to what will come out of their mouth.
Oh, I remember the time that I talked about what was the name of the old leader of the ALA, Charles, the old CEO, and he came out after he got replaced and wrote a letter talking about the positives of e-cigarettes and the potential expansion of why we should expand these. And I quoted that letter in one of my testimonies, and the ALA said to me, Mr. I forget his name now, I've got it somewhere, he no longer works for us. He no longer represents the ALA, and that's all they could say. You know, when you get them off their script, I don't think they're allowed to say anything off of their talking points.
And not if they want to keep their jobs.
Yeah. Exactly.
But this is not. Please don't take this as free license to goad them. I mean, not completely free license, but.
Well, it's inevitable. I mean, like I said, I've been watching this Twitter exchange the past couple days, and wow, what is his name? Charles Cliff Douglas or something. He's out of Wisconsin. I forget what group he is with, but you know, he sounds like one of these tobacco controllers that is just now maybe becoming active against electronic cigarettes, and he screwed up. He posted the whole the pen exploding in some guy's pocket.
Oh, that was the Borneo article about where it was actually a zip gun.
Right, exactly. And so of course he only saw that it exploded in a guy's pocket and he died. But then I guess within a matter of hours, the Borneo paper came back and said, no, it wasn't an electronic cigarette, it was a zip gun. And so Vapers kind of jumped on and were like, dude, you have to retract that. You know, that article is, you know, bullshit. And he refused and got, this went on for 20 hours or more. Kind of him and Ruth Malone jumped into it, and just a lot of the UK Vapers are all over this. And I found myself kind of jumping in. So one of the new themes that I've picked up on among the antis is they're accusing e-cig advocates of seeing things in black and white, which I can't even really understand where they picked up on that, like what they have decided we are arguing black and white are. But I called him on it and I said, hey, you know, if you're going to be talking about dual use, sometimes that's sort of a pathway to somebody giving up smoking altogether. So that's that's a gray area that we're advocating for. And it just, whenever you throw a little bit of truth in there to him, it's like immediately he would change the subject. And so it went from like the black and white discussion to, well, what about the kids? And then, you know, it's a very interesting thing to see. It's hard to paraphrase it, but.
Yeah, and they love to throw, you know, they'll throw any argument they can at you that'll derail you anytime. Especially like putting you up against the wall when it's a particular, if your response will not be favorable to anything. Let me see. Also, let's talk about a couple of real quick things right quick. We did want to go back and touch on the expo. Just the general thing about the expo. I do want to give my personal thanks to Peter and Marcy for all the incredible work they did with the Michigan Expo, and there was a substantial fundraiser that was done for the militia, and I am extremely humbled by the efforts that they put into them, into that, and the event went just phenomenal. Everything from good times, long nights, vape tricks, the whole 9 yards. It was just an incredible event.
Don't forget Metro. Don't forget Metro.
Yeah, let's include Metro in that. You know, Metro is from Terra Labs. It took the lead as one of the people taking the lead on putting together the vendor group in Michigan, with you, Joe there, and his work on getting vendors to sign up for the militia, Pewter and Marcy's tireless hours. I want to pull up, if someone can throw the link to Zen's blog. Zen did a write-up. Mike Morgan was there all weekend. It was really funny. First, he had a ticket to VCC, and he kept saying, "Well, if this thing changes, I'm going to go to VCC also." But he stayed all weekend with us, and it was just, it was just such a fun event. And it was kind of an old school event. I don't think we expected 3,000, and they got over 3,100 people that showed up. And in the past, I think their biggest event was about 800 people. So, I mean, it absolutely exploded in people. It was, if you haven't been to a vape event, folks, and especially one like this that's intimate and it's, the after hours were amazing. Sitting at the tables with some really influential people. Joe, I got to spend several hours with Daniel Walsh from Pure Bacco.
Great guy.
Oh my God, just his whole concept of his business and what Pure Bacco is doing in the standard line and his product line and what's going on with vaping.com and ECF. Just fantastic, time. I got to see some of the people that have been involved with vaping from the get-go. Frank over at Alt Smoke, Zen obviously, the guys from Mr. E-Liquid and Juicy, and it was just so much fun, and then meeting the new vendors, the guys that, I don't know if you've had a chance to get some of these dockside Vapers yet, but they were, there, and then all the folks that that donated to the auction, and really, Marcy and Pewter and Metro raised a lot of money for the militia, so we can continue to do what we're doing here from an education point of view and from a speaking schedule point of view, etc. So it was just an incredible event, and I talked to Rich Gavina, Tower of Vape, and he goes, "This is the first Vape Expo I've missed, and damn it, I'm not going to miss another one." So it was an amazing weekend, and I personally have such great respect for Pewter and Marcy and the work that they did. And so we're talking about when the next Vape Expo events are going to be and where. We're starting to have those discussions now.
Yeah, and then I also want to talk on the same weekend was the event down in Tennessee, and that was put on by Smoke Free Tennessee, Dimitri, and the promoter for that was Kevin Skipper. And Alex, you were down at that event with me, and so was Robin. And Kevin really brought an entire new twist to the large scale vape scene. He had individuals going through getting stickers from each of the individual advocacy groups, and there was a drawing that had there must have been 10 mods that they gave out if you actually went through and got your stickers from all the different advocacy groups. So hats off to Kevin Skipper for adding a new twist to a very large scale. There was probably 150 vendors there.
Easily.
So for me, it was quite a contrast. Friday night, I was able to spend a little time up there in Michigan, and a really nice. Basically all my friends here in the Michigan area, and then boom, the rest of the weekend down at VCC, and very well conducted event. Everything about the event was just spot on. I do want to thank Phil for his effort. He DJ'd a special party, after party, and the advocacy or the proceeds from the door were divided up into the advocacy groups, and just an absolutely incredible event. We are very blessed to have people creating these events throughout the United States in order to get our message out and also get the availability to new products and new juices out to the general public. So,
and coming up, Joe, you and I are going to be down in Phoenix at their vape event at the end of the month, right?
That's on the weekend of the 24th. It's very likely that our show won't air that weekend. We will be down at Vape Expo. Excuse me, my cat's bringing me a toy.
Vapor Dynasty.
Thank you, Ripple.
Vapor Dynasty.
Vapor Dynasty Expo down in Phoenix. I think if you come, you'll get the chance to see myself, Jim, and Mondo.
And Mondo too.
And Mondo too. You mean I get to meet Mondo in person finally?
Yep.
So Mondo
Excellent.
will be there. And then on the 7th of November, we'll be at Vape Summit, and that'll be Knock and myself and probably somebody else. We haven't quite decided that yet. That promises to be an enormous show there, something on scale of ECC. So.
And VaporCon, Joe.
And VaporCon.
Now, who's going to be at Who's going to be at VaporCon?
That'll be
and Fred and Ian.
Alex will be there, Robin, Ian,
And Fred. Yep, we'll be there.
So,
Nice.
Looking forward to it.
Can I jump in about VCC just a little bit?
Sure.
I don't know everybody in the chat rooms and everybody watching, but if anybody within the sound of my voice, I would say take an example from VCC and how they did the advocacy. I have just amazing things to say about Kevin and how he has worked to kind of crack the code on how we get people, at the very least, exposed to advocacy. The scavenger hunt type setup was an excellent model. And also, I saw that Dimitri had worked to put together an advocacy dinner on Friday, which sounds like it was very well attended, and it was for vendors only. But I guess I don't know if it was free or if you paid $10 or something. Again, I don't remember exactly how that worked, but I had quite a few people stop by our table and just say, hey, I was at the advocacy dinner last night. I've never heard that before. It was, I think kind of a formal type of sit down and eat and listen to the advocates talk kind of setting. I think that was very appropriate and had an impact. And then, of course, dispersing the advocate tables throughout and putting us next to vendors. I don't know. I hope anybody who can talk to anybody that puts these events on if you have the VCC, Kevin, I remember him saying, I hope that take this idea and run with it. Everybody that puts on an event that has several advocacy groups present should do something like this. And I had a great time. I haven't actually fully got my voice back. I think I got a cold, but and I remarked on Sunday, I found myself talking to people the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
There was a point on Saturday where it took me 2 hours to get away from the table to go get lunch because people kept stopping by. It was amazing.
And Alex, yours and Joe's picture is on the cover photo of Tennessee Smoke Free Association, and I just put the link in the in all the rooms. And so, I would love to see TSFA's likes jump by a couple hundred because of our show here, and also Vista with Kevin down there. Just I'd love to see us grow those groups and be supportive of what Dimmy and Kevin are doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the other thing too is during the show they actually dedicate an hour during the show for an actual round table where people can come up and ask the people who are in advocacy questions, and that was a phenomenal opportunity right there in the middle of the show. It was a lot of fun.
It was. The idea with the stickers I thought was ingenious because it made people come to the booth. For whatever reason, they still came to the booth. They didn't get a sticker from me unless they listened to my story about what the militia is, because I was surprised at how many people in that area did not know. Vapers and vendors had never heard of us, didn't know what we are, what we're about, and it gave an opportunity for them to find out who we are. So I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah, that's superb.
It's great. We need to acknowledge that there are people who are there's always going to be thousands, millions of people who are just getting started in vaping, and so we're always going to have new people that don't know what's going on. And just like you said, even the people that stop by and kind of plop their program down on the table and like, I came for my sticker. That's an opportunity to say, hey, what do you know about our organization? And I'll trade you, sign up to be a member, and I'll give you a sticker.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure, because I know a lot of times we're very negative on the efforts that are going out there, and telling people to get up off their ass and get involved, and it seems like this constant message. It's really nice every once in a while to sit back and say, wow, somebody really stepped up to the plate. So
well, and it's funny, Dimmy has always been he loves what we do, and he's been very public that he hates our name, and that's okay. But he was really smart in his organization, because who's going to say no to hearing a guy speak from the Tennessee Smoke Free Association? So well done, Dimmy. Well done to that group, and well done on VCC Tennessee. Well, I heard it was a great event, and sorry, I wish I could have been there, but I was busy in Michigan.
And something else. If you do have a chance to attend a vaping event, I don't know if it's just Southeast Tennessee. It's kind of that region. Some of the comments that I've heard in my own experience from another advocacy effort in the past. For some reason, that region of the country, people are very receptive to advocacy issues. They're not necessarily the get out in the street rah kind of people, but they are very interested in what they can do to help, and that's very refreshing to see.
Hey, Joe, before we leave this subject, I forgot one person at Expo, and Big Mex really stood up and helped us with the auction and was just a good influence around the event. So thanks to Big Mex, Marcus too, for all the help up there. Guy did a great job.
I really do appreciate it. Everybody who steps up to the plate. I mean, you show it. You show where your heart and your head is by jumping in and doing something on this. So again, we really do appreciate all the efforts.
Absolutely.
Speaking of hearts and heads.
Hearts and heads.
Reynolds had an interesting comment that they their public comment is making more and more news lately. Reynolds, when they did the FDA proposal comment, very clearly indicated that they felt that there should be a call for banning open systems in favor of closed systems.
Well, of course, they have closed system products. Why would they not want to ban us?
And this is, a lot of people don't. I guess this is there's that very slim margin of people who think that there is still some connection or some possible relationship that could be made between big tobacco and the vape community, and then we see things like this, where Reynolds is very plainly saying that we want to figure out a way to extinguish this movement. Now, I want to couple this with some information that Bonnie Herzog made public about a week and a half ago. For those of you who may not know who Bonnie Herzog is, she is a industry analyst that works for Wells Fargo, and
the Bonnie Herzog.
And she and up until this point, there is no official reporting for the amount of product sold in the open vapor market. There's no trade group that's bringing these numbers together. So the guess that she made has always been something that a lot of us have looked at and thought was a little undervalued until she came out with her latest numbers, and she is putting the open vapor at a 1.5 million over closed vapor at $1 million.
Billion.
Billion. Excuse me.
Billion.
Yeah, over closed vapor by half a $1 billion.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, this has a couple of consequences. First off, when we see articles like this, there's a couple of consequences we need to be aware of. As vapors, we look at it and we go, hooray, our industry's being recognized. And then we also need to think that lawmakers are looking at this and going, hooray, tax dollars.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
we need to be very careful when we're looking at information like this and how it comes out. I don't know that, I'm sure that Ms. Herzog has her methods for ascertaining her numbers, but the problem is the number that she brought out may actually cause us more harm than good.
Well, it just puts a bigger target on our backs.
Mm-hmm.
It makes us, the visibility is great, because when a Wells Fargo comes out, people outside of the vaping industry see the vaping industry. Great, fantastic. But it puts a bigger target on our back, because the reality of it is that closed systems are easy to tax. They get, it's easy to have a specific amount of liquid. It's easy to, get an easier measure on the amount of nicotine in there, and they're easier to tax. The open systems are much harder to tax, and the open systems allow us to the proliferation of a black market, which they can't tax at all. So it just puts a much bigger target on our back. And and so great. We get to see our name in lights, and we realize how powerful we are in the industry as a whole. But it really does put that big red X on our back even bigger and brighter.
I mean, we talked about the Reynolds comment pretty thoroughly back in episode 5 of our podcast, and what they said in there was horribly damaging to us. I mean, with no evidence whatsoever. But if this carries the weight that I'm afraid it might, this is horrible. I mean, the words they used are horrible.
The Reynolds has already gotten the Italian government to say that cigarettes are evil. E-cigarettes are not quite as evil, but they're still evil. But now we've got this new vapor Keurig, for lack of a better term, that is safer, the safest smoking. and that's a Reynolds product. So they're trying to control their future, and so and their investors, and their public, a public company, and they're going to do everything they can do to destroy this uncontrolled, unregulated, uncontrolled aspect of the industry.
And that uncontrolled being specifically looking at the growth factor. That's probably going to be their biggest target, is looking at the growth that we're having and the fact that they can do nothing to put it in check.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, thank you, our friends at RJR. He says, tongue in cheek.
Yeah, at least we know where they stand.
Oh, anybody that thinks that the big tobacco's on our side, they're wrong. They want to squash what we're doing because we're taking dollars out of their pocket.
And we're going to bounce back over and talk about an EU issue here for a few moments. A company called Totally Wicked actually won a court case with the EU regulators, which is it's a good thing. It gives us a little glimmer of some of the process that could be coming forward in the I don't know. Would you call it near future, Jim? 2 to 3 years, probably.
Oh, you know what? That's absolutely near future. The thing is that you look at great companies like Toyota. They have a 50-year plan. So anything less than 5 years is near future.
Yeah, because when we're talking about our industry, we only have a history of 5 years. So there's a total difference in the way we think about long-term, short-term at the moment.
Exactly. I think a lot of the people in our industry think of short-term as next week, and we have to be looking 5, 10, 15 years out. We have to be, or we're not an industry.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that in this that they were actually able to challenge that e-cigarettes were not tobacco products. So this is an argument that we've seen in a few different manners, a few different discussions here in the U.S. Now, we have to keep in mind that there are 2 different categories in how the EU regulates e-cigarettes. One is a recreational category, and the other is a medicinal category. Okay? We do not have the medicinal category in the U.S. at all. The Satara decision completely closed that to us.
Do you think that was a mistake?
Can't unring a bell. Whether it was a mistake or not, you can't unring a bell.
Okay. Yeah. Good point. Good point.
But now, I'm curious, and forgive my ignorance because I'm not supposed to be, but if a pharmaceutical company were to develop a stick battery and market it with a step-down program, go through all the approvals and so on, couldn't they market it as a smoking cessation product?
I would imagine.
Don't they already do that don't they already do that with their device? It's the same device.
Yeah, you got
it's not. It's not the
control inhaler. It's not the same technology, but if
their inhalers
if they
don't
go
have
through the steps, we're talking about what the regulations already in place state that Jim's e-cig shop down the road can't market these things as a quit smoking device, but if a pharmaceutical company goes through all the clinical trials and all the hoops they have to jump through to bring it to market as a cessation product, that option still kind of exists, right?
Well, I don't know if it does. Actually, I don't think it does. The Satara decision clearly said that the product is not a medical device as presented. So that hurdle would be the first hurdle that they'd have to overcome. So I think that would give it a little bit problem in that respect.
Okay. Yeah.
And the pharmaceutical inhalers do not have a battery and an atomizer in it. They are an aerosol product.
Right.
Well, technically, this is too.
Well,
The
yeah,
atomization process is different, but sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I know. Trust me, it does get very, very confusing as we start to look at it. And you can take the giggle on this one, Alex. We both know a lawyer friend who has told us on many occasions that if given the chance, she could legally describe a dog as a cat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you're dealing in the legal realm, there's a whole set of rules on how they can present arguments and how they can quantify what they're trying to prove, which, in common sense, you may look at and go, "You've got to be kidding me," you know. So we do face that, but it is nice to see some forward litigation where we actually have a few e-cigarette companies, and even over in the UK, that are making some advancements on the EU ruling. So perhaps a little glimmer of hope, kind of what I was trying to present here. I'm not going to get too much into the specifics of the decision, just to give you an idea that it is possible that a company could find a way to get a decision in their favor.
You know, Alex and I are doing a lot of, I don't know, Twitter behind-the-scenes work with a lot of UK vapers now, and I'm learning a lot from them. And Alex, I don't know if you are. I would imagine you are. I'm learning a lot from them on how to use Twitter and how, you know, go ahead.
Did we lose VapeNet?
Not monitoring it.
No, I don't know.
Texas Tunes Lady says that we're not live on VapeNet.
I can see if we choose that. Let's see if we can fix it just by doing this.
Okay. There might be an important chat. Looks like we might have missed a key change. Okay. So I don't know, Alex. You know, I really enjoyed, you know, getting to know them and work with them because they are very active, avid Twitter blasters and know how to, let's say, just attack people. I love it.
Yeah, I have some kind of mixed feelings about it. There are a couple of people that tend to stray a little bit off course, and I think they've been doing this long enough now that they're very easily frustrated. But I have this thing. There are public health people on Twitter that are just dyed-in-the-wool anti-zealot people, and there really is no convincing them. They are always going to put something up that's inflammatory. If it's nice, it's out of character and should be treated with suspicion. Obviously, I'm talking about Simon Chapman, McKee, Stan Glantz. Glantz, I don't even know what he really. I think I tried to. I don't know if I'm blocked. I am blocked from Stan Glantz.
Have you been blocked yet?
I think I've been blocked for a while. I didn't even know it. I haven't even really tweeted at him in the past. I think he must have just saw my name pop up somewhere and was like, well, you know, fuck that guy. So. Oh my God, that's a $5 donation to Kasa.
Yep.
But you know, to kind of this again, this is my kind of hopeless optimism shining through. There was this conversation, this 20-hour or more long conversation with Cliff Douglas on Twitter, and he got into it with Tom Pruin. He's the scientific director from ICEDA, and there was actually a very a relatively constructive back and forth between the two of them. And it became clear that this Cliff Douglas guy, I think, is just reading whatever bullshit they've thrown in his hands about electronic cigarettes, and he's sticking to the same script of CDC, the kids, and this and that. And but at some point, you can almost see that there is actually an exchange of ideas, and there is almost a common ground, and there's almost an effort to kind of be on a common ground. That could all be for show. I don't know, but it seemed like, just again, me, the hopeless optimist here, it seemed like at some point there was actually dialogue, and this is rare. This is so rare. These public health people do not actually continue to carry on a dialogue with you. They usually put something inflammatory or just downright, e-cigs suck, and then they move on and they don't respond and so on. But this guy actually did. And Ruth Malone is another. She's actually out of San Francisco. I don't know if she's UCSF or not, but she's another one that actually has taken the time to have a dialogue with e-cig advocates. And so, to the extent that the EU vapors will jump all over this stuff, it's very fun to watch, and it is educational. I got on Twitter not long after I started vaping, and I started. The EU folks were the only ones really Twitter. David Dorn, Lorian, I'm gonna mess up her name. Lorian Jolie, Joe Lincoln, and some other folks. That was really all that I saw, and I immediately followed all of those guys. And they were just, they were going head to head with people in the EU, and occasionally, winging over to stand glance. And yeah, it's kind of finally happening. I think that U.S. tweeters are jumping in the ring. But it is really important to remember. First of all, you have the obvious character limit in Twitter, which I've always I've thought of as a pretty useful exercise. If you can take something complex like tobacco harm reduction and condense some very key points of this argument into, sometimes you've got less than 60 characters. If you're copying all these people in this long Twitter discussion, you've got no space at all. And that's kind of you have to get creative with shortening words and getting your point across, and you have to do all of that without lowering yourself to name calling, which is really. I think after all that the EU folks have been through, it's particularly challenging. So yeah, it's a very interesting scene. And I would encourage anybody who wants to check it out and get involved in the Twitter conversation, lurk, sit back and watch it for a while, and participate in some other stuff, some lighthearted discussion maybe, but jumping in on these public health people and resorting to name calling and just kind of throwing weird tinfoil hat type things at them, it does actually end up kind of derailing the conversation, and it does contribute to the whole vaping circus perception. Yeah, just
at a minimum, for the links that I'm posting in there right now, and Knock, I'm putting yours in there, and Joe too. If you can at least follow these 5 that I'm putting in here, and then when we tweet stuff, retweet it, because one, it helps get what we have out there, and 2, helps just to spread the word more than anything else. I guess it's the same thing. That was 1 and 1.5.
Well, I hope they read mine first, because some are rather sarcastic, and I'm not above name calling.
Yeah, everything I said. CDC tobacco free, FDA tobacco. Some of the big organizations have their own anti-vaping, anti-smoking type tweets that they put up, and they're usually ripe for making fun of. Carl does that sometimes. There's really just a faceless intern, I think, on the other side of that account. They don't ever respond, so it's sometimes fun to throw a jab at them.
Okay, let's see. We're looking at about 15 minutes left in the show. There's a couple of things I want to make sure everybody sees before we get out of here. There is a new study that is being crowdfunded for Dr. Farsalinos, and I'll put that in. This is a temperature of evaporation study.
And this is going to take care of the formaldehyde argument and the acrolein argument.
Acrolein and formaldehyde, subohming. So there's that one. If you have, as a shop, you should do it. If you're a vapor, if you have it extra, go ahead. And you may have seen this article in a few places about Lance down in Australia. This is not the first time we've talked about it. His court case is coming up. They're at about $72,000. They're needing to get to $100,000. Whoops, I put the same one in again. Duh. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, I think it's up to 78,000. But the point is that, this is a guy that has taken on the Australian government by himself, and the Australian government has gone after him. So he needs our help.
Hey, give me just a minute here. Let me make sure I got the right link.
I'll put it in, Joe. I got it.
You got that one?
I got that one. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy has fought a case, and it's all the way up to the Australian Supreme Court. And, Lance has been on a number of vape shows. I've been talking to him for well over 4 months now. No indication his story wavers. This guy is doing what he can. And you need to think about this. If you want to donate to this, think about it this way. If Western Australia falls, all of Australia will fall. Okay? If all Australia falls, that's evidence for everywhere else. So we're going to start seeing it dropping everywhere. And this is kind of an international shot across the bow. If you want more information, check out ClickBang. Russ did a phenomenal interview with him last week. He's a great guy. So, and I think he was even on Mod Envy for those of you who may watch that. Okay, so got those two out of the way. And let's go to something a little awkward for us.
Is there anything really awkward for us?
Sometimes. Well, there's a few pictures of you, Jim, but...
Well, those weren't awkward. Those were staged. Those really weren't me.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Up in Vancouver, as they're making decisions about e-cigarettes, the government up there has made it abundantly clear that they're not going to be targeting anything that has to do with marijuana. Now, why would I bring this up on our show? Well, currently there's one state in the union, Colorado, that has recreational marijuana laws, and I understand there will be D.C. and Washington State.
I thought Washington State already had them, so I thought there was 2 states that had
Did
them.
it flip? I'm not.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if it's already finished.
Albie, you're in the room. Is recreational weed legal in Washington? We'll find out. Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
Well, and there's a number of states where medicinal is there, and this is becoming more and more of an issue as we go along. sometimes, oh, Washington's already there, so there's 2. Okay, that helps.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So this issue comes more and more along, and this is something that many times when we're dealing with city councils and stuff, the conversation gets railroaded over into this other topic. And I don't know that we have a lot of control over this. It's usually not us that's taking it there. It is obviously someone who has a whole different agenda. For example, if you watch the San Diego hearing, there was a young lady who was holding an ego pen with a regular CE4 on it, telling the council how that was used, or how she confiscated it from her son, and he was using it for marijuana. And you know, the equipment is different in most cases. So
Yes.
So one of those things that we're going to be looking at, and when I was talking to a shop owner in Boulder, one of the things that shop owner in Boulder said, which kind of made me start thinking about this, was he would be willing to help train police to see the difference, and he would be willing to go to extend that to the city council. You know, and to be able to do this, and maybe this is one of the things that vape store owners need to start looking at a little bit closer. So
this is a really tough situation. You know, we've talked about this ad nauseum at our board on, you know, how we deal with this issue, and it's a tough one for us because federally it's still illegal. You know, these guys that were recreational use is legal in Washington, Colorado, the folks that have these shops are closing down because they can't take credit cards, they can't use the banking system. There's a whole lot of other problems that go along with this. So, you know, from a militia point of view, you know, if it's federally illegal, you know, that's the position that we're holding on right now. But it's a tough argument because, you know, it is something that everybody seems willing to legalize this in one fashion or another, but they attack e-cigs, which are a true miracle product, and so it's a really tough discussion. I think the word you use, not embarrassing, but it's a tough discussion for us right now.
It's a tough discussion, and even when I was talking to the vape shop owner, one of the things that he was very, very clear to say was that there's a definite issue there, that they've already made ordinances that cannabis use can only be done in home already in Boulder area. So there's already ordinances that support that.
Right.
So it's kind of a, you know, it really puts us in a weird light because we've got enough problems on our own in this individual market, but then you go on top of that and you add this twist, and things get more and more complicated. Because
you know, the standard argument, Joe, oh, the children, oh, they use it for drugs, you know, I mean, what do we, you know, yeah, okay. You know, yeah, okay.
And you had to kind of walk away from it at that point because, first off, we cannot speak to that. I don't know anything about it, so I can't speak to it. So.
Well, like our famous President Bill Clinton, I tried it, but I didn't inhale. Not. I grew up in the '60s. I grew up in the '60s in California. What, you know, you do the math.
Okay, we're about 10 minutes out. I just wanted to put this article in. This particular article, we're not going to spend hardly any time talking about it. It's a good read. It adds a kind of a different look at what we're dealing with nicotine. Kind of some new ideas and its medical use and as such.
I want to talk about this article. I know we only got 10 minutes, but I think
You got
I don't know
three.
whether
Can you do it?
I don't know whether I was one of the first people that posted this, but actually the Fiery Redhead found this one for me because she goes to all these health sites and we're big time anti-GMO, health foods and that kind of stuff, and she posted this, and this is a fantastic article when it talks about is nicotine really harmful. And it's the fact that if nicotine were separated from tobacco, it would be a wonder drug, a wonder herbal supplement. I mean, shoot, blood vessel growth, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, depression, schizophrenia, ADHD. It's a really, really, really good article. For you to have in your arsenal to be able to talk to the positives of nicotine use and the positives of nicotine. So I'm done talking on this one. I'm going to thank the Fiery Redhead, my bride, for turning me on to this. And I know that once I put it in the militia page, I started seeing it all the time, and I'm saying, cool. I wonder if I broke something. But it's something that came outside of vaping, and this is. I'm gonna get a $5 fine from CASA. This is good shit.
Hey, Knock, you had a couple things that you wanted to cover right quick.
Well, I've been kind of working two different things right now. I just got a last minute local issue that's sort of kind of important. Santa Clara County in California will be having a meeting on the 15th. And it looks like the recommendation from the health system and the health department will include flavored tobacco products in their new ordinance. So this is a domino. I've been working with Mark Burton and Stefan in California throughout this show, trying to see what we can do. But anybody that's watching the show that lives in that area, you might be tapped, because this looks bad.
So get out there and do what you can for it if you're in Santa Clara area. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left. Real quick notes, Alex? You know it's coming every time, bro.
What, the
closing?
Yeah, I know. I just don't. I'm sorry, that Santa Clara thing just made me sad. Which again, New York.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
If you haven't already, that's open up nationwide. Everybody just take a moment and harass the city, the Committee on Health. And Mexico Vapers, if you're in New Mexico, that call to action hasn't been spread around. It's not something that we're publicizing, but you can find that. I put that out on Fight to Vape earlier, sending emails kind of proactively to your state legislators, asking them to enact a ban on sales to minors. And like I said earlier, I'll be trying to roll that out for all the other states that don't have a ban on sales to minors. So just beware of that, and thank you.
Robin, any parting shots?
My thing right now is voting. So I need to say that it'll be election day in a couple of weeks. If you're not registered to vote, go do it. In fact, you don't even have to go do it. You can do it from home on your computer, or if you go to get a driver's license in most states, you can do it right there. When you're getting your picture taken, you got to do it, guys. You got to know who your local politicians are. You have to know who to talk to, who to address, send them emails, send them letters. Don't send them petitions. They don't look at them. But just, get active and especially please register to vote and go do it when it's time.
Knock, any last little bit?
Keep your ears to the ground, spy on your city councils, do what you need to do to get this information, because these things are coming and we're getting the last minute and we need warnings on these. If we get them a day before, it's really hard to organize anything with less than 24 hours notice. And this last week we've gotten quite a few of these that are not even a full 12 hours away from when the meeting is.
Jim?
Hey, thanks for hanging out with us up in Michigan. Remember, 24th, 25th, and 26th, Joe and I and Mondo are going to be down at in Phoenix, and so come hang out with us, have a vape with us, and learn what we're doing. Wear your militia gear. Represent. I always like to say, be well and vape polite and vape responsibly, and keep fighting the fight. We love you guys, and we're so blown away by. I mean, Joe and I are coming up on a year on this show, Joe, pretty soon. I think next month will be a year. So thank you so much for supporting us and following us.
Thanks again to Nova, VapeNet, Quest, Vaping 411. Who'd I miss?
Nova, Quest, Vaping 411, I think VapeNet.
And thanks to all those guys who carry us. And thank you to our very loyal audience. Thank you very much for everything you do. Don't forget you can also catch Robin, Ian, and Fred over at VaporCon on the same dates.
Yep.
Vape polite.
Yes.
Have a good day, and catch us in the militia Facebook group. We're there all the time.
And the radio
Yes.
show.
And the radio show.
And the radio show, yeah.
All right, we're gone.
We're down.